Bum 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 bum. Flash. Program used by all of us. It's a miracle when it didn't crash. But we made lots of tunes for the boys and the girls and the everyone in between with good old Flash. Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is the first Kirblog I've done in quite a long time. It is the year 2021. The world is still on fire and awful things are happening every other day. But I wanted to do something kind of uplifting. I wanted to do a little celebration, a little look back. For those of you who don't know, as of the end of this past year of the evil overlord, our virus of 2020, the program Flash Player is now no longer working for for most internet browsers. And I guess to celebrate slash sort of mourn the loss of not the program itself, but I guess just its usage in the internet as we know it. I'm joined by a host of other wonderful Flash animators that I personally consider to be several inspirations into what got me into animating at the beginning of my I put giant quotation marks around career of animation, of making cartoons back in the early 2000s. But yeah, I'm joined by, first of all, who I have affectionately referred to as the Super Zirbes Brothers, John and Richie. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi. How's it going?
Creators of the Perfect Kirby series on Newgrounds. And John also created the Banjo 3 cartoon as well. And Richie also was a programmer, and he worked on some game stuff, including he programmed the menu of the Nintendo collabs that we did on Newgrounds back in the late 2000s. And I'm also joined by Mr. Joey Blanchett, legendary Frog. How you doing, man?
Hey there. Too bad.
Yes. Joey, of course, created many things. One Ring to Rule Them All, the Zelda song, and many other Zelda fan cartoons, Ark and Kerrigan, lots of stuff. And all three of these guys actually worked on the Nintendo collabs, I believe, which was one of my early projects of working with other people back in, God, I think that was the first one we did, like 2007, I think.
And working on those was a lot of fun. I like those.
Yeah, and it was, and I guess, well, in case, I don't know, if you're watching this on my channel, you probably know who I am, but I guess for reintroduction, I'm Chris Niosi. I go by Kerbifer, and I've been doing Flash animation since about 2004 when I first picked it up, and I'm sure we'll talk about that and everything. But yeah, I've done a whole bunch of stuff. Tome, Traded Magical Expertise was my most recent animation project. Before that, I did a lot of parody stuff, a lot of Nintendo cartoons, and the Super Freaking Parody Rangers was a big one for a while. That was kind of my first viral hit, and other little things here and there. And yeah, so guys, I guess first of all, well, this is really nice. I really appreciate you guys being here because, Joey, we haven't talked in probably a few years now since last time I've back when Skype was the thing that everybody used. So it's great to hear you again.
Yes, Skype.
Yeah, and John and Richie, I think this is the first time I've gotten to like speak to you guys directly, like over voice. So it's a pleasure to finally get to like hear the two of you. How are all of you guys doing? I know life is a little crazy for everybody, of course, but how's everybody been holding up lately?
So, doing fine, I guess, as well as we can.
Yeah.
I have my pandemic project. I've been building a couch for a year.
Oh, like an actual couch.
Yeah.
Well, that's nice.
I started it in January before I knew there was a pandemic.
Yeah.
But it turned out to be really good. I learned sewing and a whole lot of interesting things about different upholstery.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Yeah, I guess what have you, well, on that note, yeah, what have you guys been up to as of late before we go into what we did 15 years ago?
Yeah, really. Well, myself, like I haven't been super active in obviously animating, like directly in a really long time. We had a couple projects with Toonworks, which was the group of friends I work with to do cartoons near the beginning of the year. But real life happened to nearly everyone in the group, and we weren't able to continue with that. It was working on our Wonders of the Universe project.
Mm-hmm.
But mostly during the pandemic, my muse have been Dungeons and Dragons. I really got into that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've been playing for a couple of years, but I got into actually DMing. And that has been my creative outlet during this pandemic.
I mean, a lot of people are surviving through playing tabletop stuff, so that makes total sense.
Yeah. Like I'm doing art and stuff too, but mostly that. Like each week, my friends get together and do that.
How about you, John? Cricket.
I'll unmute that.
Oh, sorry.
You're
good.
I've kind of been doing YouTube for a little while now, mostly because for the longest time, because I wasn't doing any animation, I wasn't producing anything. I just wanted to get some content out, so it's just what I've been kind of doing, and I've been kind of meandering through a few Discord communities, kind of hanging out and doing other few projects, some voice stuff.
Cool.
It's been very behind the scenes and very quiet.
Nice. Yeah, I've been trying to keep sane with them. I'm working on my video game project, and watching a lot of anime and a lot of. I'm getting really big into VTubers. This big craze that has come up as of late, and
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, so just trying to wait things out. Hope that the world will begin to heal through our collective efforts this year. So Flash. So I guess, God, I want to start kind of chronologically, and I'm going to learn some new things probably about you guys. So real quick, when did because I think if we determine the answer to this, we'll find out who we should start with in terms of kind of discussing things. But when did you guys first pick up Flash and start making stuff? Like, do you remember what year? Like, kind of around what time?
All I remember is Flash 5 just came out.
Yeah, I think 2001.
Okay.
It was like just a month after 9/11 that I figured out Newgrounds.
Oh wow! Okay,
yeah, I know. Unfortunately, that's how I do the timeline here.
No, that's okay. Yeah,
of course. And it's just I think it was a year later, 2002, is when we did like Perfect Kirby.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Joey, how about you? You remember?
Pretty much the same with me. I was learning Flash at my job when 9/11 happened.
Wow. Okay.
And,
so 2001 then. Okay. Wow. Jeez. Okay.
And then, I think I released my first cartoon in 2002.
Really?
There.
Wow. See, it's funny because I keep associating like. I feel like hold on. Was the first thing you made was it the Zelda theme song cartoon?
Yeah, I mean that was obviously super amateur.
Yeah, that was before you had established like the art style that we know you for and everything, of course.
Because I had that song on a CD, I listened to it at work,
mm-hmm.
and as you do, as some creative people do, they just imagine stuff in their head
mm-hmm.
when listening to music, and I think that was the first thing I animated in there. It's like, okay, I know how to make certain things move in Flash.
Mm-hmm.
I can make shapes in Flash. Let me combine the two. And hopefully I can get some stuff to move in tune with the music.
And in fact, you did. And but that wasn't really your first. I mean, we'll dip into the specific stuff that we all made, of course. But that wasn't your first like big viral hit. It wasn't probably till.
Oh no, I doubt. I don't know how much people saw it back in the day, but it was like I wasn't a name yet on Newgrounds.
Sure. But then I guess so 2002 then I guess so and then would that have been the same year, John and Richie? Was that the year that you guys submitted something to the portal as well?
I think we did anything before Perfect Kirby, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, what? Because you did put some stuff out before Perfect Kirby, right?
Did we?
I made some stupid things that got blammed and kicked off immediately, so.
Okay.
Those don't exist anymore.
I haven't heard blammed in quite a while.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I've told this story many times. I'll give a super quick summation of things, but I discovered Newgrounds, probably around that same time. That would have been like middle school for me. And I came across, all of your guys' early stuff in that time, because that was always on like the front page. And of course, everybody knows, I'm sure, like, Newgrounds is going to be like kind of massively intertwined into this discussion because of just how closely associated it was with what we did. But I saw all of your guys' early stuff, and I had always wanted to make stuff. I wanted to make games and movies and TV shows and whatever. And prior to this, I had attempted making some, I'm putting giant quotation marks around the word cartoons in PowerPoint with like really crappy MS Paint drawings that I'd copy and paste into a PowerPoint file and call it a day. And so that was kind of what started for me in terms of like trying to film make stuff. And then when I saw what could be done with Flash, just even from a really basic standpoint, I was really inspired by a lot of the stuff that you guys were doing. And so I went to a computer learning center that was right near my hometown where I grew up in Long Island. And I got taught by this woman named Charlotte, who was she had the whole Macromedia back when before it was Adobe. It was Macromedia package of programs. So I learned Fireworks specifically for ripping and exporting sprites, because I did a lot of pixel stuff back then, and then Flash. And I can distinctly remember I originally picked up Flash in order to learn how to program to make games, and that was ActionScript, I think probably 2.0 by that point. But I realized very quickly, wow, I hate programming. Like, I really hate programming. So, but I realized, but you can like do movies and animations and export these little things this way. And like, maybe that's what I want to do. And I quickly realized that was what I wanted to do. And then I never looked back from there and kind of continued onward. But a lot of my early stuff before I started actually like making real things, I just did a lot of like weird experimental kind of crap. And my first couple things I submitted to Newgrounds got blammed, and before eventually I kind of figured out the method to the madness and everything. But that was kind of the beginning of it. Go ahead, Joey. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Because not to interrupt you. I have a bad habit of that, apparently.
No, you're good. Play, all of you guys. I'm going to go on forever. Please interrupt me whenever you want, all of you guys.
So obviously I made that Zelda cartoon first, but I released One Ring to Rule Them All and Legend of Zelda on the same day.
Wow.
June 8th. Because I figured, like, I have these two cartoons. There's a site called Newgrounds, but I might as well upload them, so I did it on the same day. Mm-hmm. And then about a month and a half later is when I released the Final Fantasy song.
The song. Yeah, that's right. Of course.
That's what I thought the first one was. I thought One Ring came after, but no.
Well, according to Newgrounds, like the dates, it was the same day.
Wow. Oh my God. God, my timeline as well. Yeah, because even I feel like I was remembering even like the like maybe like late 90s, but I realized that's probably because I think Tom Fulp, who's of course the creator of Newgrounds, I think that he founded Newgrounds like late 90s. And that was like really the dawn of Flash. I mean, like the only stuff that existed at that point I think was like, God, I don't know, like Joe Cartoon, like that kind of stuff, and like some early kind of they have those kind of things.
Newgrounds started as a like a news group site, didn't it? Like,
did it
for some?
Huh.
I mean, like I don't think it was a Flash site to begin with. I thought it was just like a fan page for something.
Well, I mean, it was it certainly became the first like open portal of creative stuff. It was the first place where like anybody could, and granted there was the approval process of just the public of like if it was crappy it would get blammed, which is interesting because no other site really even has something like that now, and that's part of the whole sort of culture of that. I don't want to go too much into that stuff, but yeah, that's why it kind of ended up being and there were alternatives. Obviously there were other places like Albino Black Sheep and E-Bombs World and whatever, but that was mostly I feel were places where other stuff got passed around from other sites and put onto those kind of things. But
Newgrounds started as a Neo Geo fanzine site.
Oh wow, really? Wow.
In
my God.
In 1991.
That's great. Wow. I almost
Oh,
feel
that
like,
was, like,
man,
one-
why didn't I invite Tom Fulp to this?
Yeah, I mean that was like it says it was on Prodigy,
Wow.
so like obviously it evolved since then, but he kept the
Yeah.
name Newgrounds.
Gee, wow.
Uh,
It's crazy.
and from what I remember, like it just started a place for him to upload his stuff, and then he started opening it up to other people.
Yeah. I guess for when you guys were first getting a hold of the project, so I guess Richie, you mentioned what was it? The first one that you used was Flash 5. I think my first version was like MX 2004, which I don't know like what number that would have been, but that would have been a couple years later. I started 2004 and picked up the program and went from there. But do you guys remember when you first started like just messing around with the program, experimenting around, and not even before like a full cartoon was made? Do you have any kind of memories of like, I guess the wonderment of, wow, I can do all these things with this program?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I remember now one of the cool things when I was in like 5th grade or whatever was stickdeath.com or something.
Yeah,
And they did their stuff in GIFs. So my mom was a computer scientist, so she had some GIF software.
Yeah.
So I just made some of these really shitty stick death GIFs for myself for fun a lot. And then I remember seeing, I don't know if it was Newgrounds or whatever, but there was some stick death thing that was really smooth, and I was like, oh my god, what is that? Because like the GIFs, you have to be each frame by frame. It looked pretty jiggity and bad.
Yeah.
So that was impressive to me. And I was like, what are they using to make this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, Flash is not great at exporting GIF files to begin with. It really like makes them look kind of crappy even more. But yeah, no, I totally forgot about those. Yeah, those were like insane. Like just the fluidity of those. Yeah. John, how about you?
I remember it's always that tutorial about how to bounce the ball, but I remember when we were first kind of playing around with it, we were trying to figure out lip syncing. Like, man, this is going to take a bit more time to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just thinking like some of the oldest.
One of the first scenes we made.
Oh my god!
And
Yeah,
the two fat guys walking around, and then John's like, "You gotta animate their mouths," and I'm like, "Are you kidding? How long would that take?"
Yeah, right.
Oh, the two bank robbers, which I'll never forget because I have in my head just looping. I'll never forget that.
I mean, it's funny because as you watch the 3 parts, like it got a bit better by the end, but it's like, yeah, we're still figuring it out.
Well, of course, I mean, when it comes to lip sync, it was pretty common back then that the cheat was just doing like a looped like bop 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 bop, almost like, I don't even want to say anime mouths because anime mouth animations, even though they go in one direction, they still look better than just the crap that a lot of us did back then. But no, actually, a lot of you guys, much because I didn't start like properly doing lip syncing until like way late, probably like mid 2000s, late 2000s for me. But you guys were kind of doing that a little bit more in depth. Like you were like, I don't know, you guys were treating a lot of your stuff like like real productions, for we were all a bunch of teenagers just like trying to figure this shit out. But
well, like I definitely made my first cartoons like with a purpose,
Sure.
I didn't really have many things where I just like did something for fun. I mean, obviously I had to learn it. But like everything I made, I pretty much released. I remember taking a course in high school at a college in Atlanta, like where they were like teaching Flash, and I learned the basics of making the ball bounce. And by the end of the day, I was trying to draw a dinosaur opening and closing its mouth. And I remember that's where I got it.
Yeah.
And that's where I got to. And then I didn't have Flash for I forget when that was. But it was probably sometime in high school. Then I got my job doing Flash programming and art, and that's when my work gave me a copy of Flash. Like basically, when they got Flash, I could take it home and put it on my computer. So when I was animating like how skeletons work and organs at my because it was for like a doctor's offices, the stuff like that, I said, well, I can make a person bending over picking up a box for my job. Well, let's see if I can make a character animate it at home.
Sure.
So that's what kind of started.
I remember distinctly because the first couple things I did, one of them was like a crappy, pseudo anime opening for a webcomic I was big into called The Rogues Gallery, and it was pretty much the connecting piece from the PowerPoint style stuff I was doing, where it was mostly still images and stuff. Then I tried a couple little sprite things, and then the first thing that I submitted that didn't get blamed was actually one of many rip-off In a Nutshell cartoons. Of course, that was Aaron Egoraptor's like kind of first big hit. That I think was like just an audio clip, and then Channel Cat, who was later he would go on to found Sheezy Art, and of course he's doing lots of cool programming stuff now. Mike, shout out to him. He took that audio and animated it into a big thing, and that started a big craze. This is pre the Awesome series, long before Game Grumps and any of that stuff. But a lot of people were constantly ripping off a lot of the bigger animators, and that was I did an Inuyasha in a Nutshell cartoon. That was my first thing, and that was just kind of floating crappy images that I took off Google search or whatever, with the just my mouth animation, quote unquote, was a frame of a black circle and then a frame of it not being there in a movie clip. That was about as far as I went with that. But then I started using, because my early stuff that I did a series called TV Tome Adventures, which was the kind of proto version of Terrain of Magical Expertise. And I've talked endlessly about that in many other, videos and stuff. But it was all sprite animation. So my friends and I would take pre-existing character sprite sheets, edit them to look like the original characters, put them in these different environments, which were just randomly taken from, all these different levels and various games and things. And I kind of figured it out that way. But so it wasn't until a little bit later on that I started experimenting with like the sort of puppeted animations with having the limbs of the characters and the eyes, the mouth, the nose, the hair, and all these different parts that were kind of put together, making models of characters and things. And that wasn't until a little bit later. But I do remember, just from a really basic standpoint, something that was like, oh my God, to me early on when I was just kind of like learning the early stuff about the program was rotating things with a motion tween, because in PowerPoint, you could tween stuff, you could have things shift around the screen or whatever, and I think you could even have them follow paths, but you couldn't rotate stuff. So as soon as I was like, oh my God, I can rotate something and I can make it go in different directions and I can have it spin around a bunch, and I'm like, oh, I can actually do that now and I have control over it. This is like the greatest thing in the world to me. It's like basic function.
The important question is, when did you learn that you could change the center point and not have it rotate in the middle of the object?
You mean, well, that was early on, but also keeping it consistent. And then when you would swap, this is such nerd talk, but when you would swap it with a different object in Flash, and then, oh no, it's not centered because the little point, the center point, is different for these individual things. No, I screwed up. Now I have to correct it and all these. Oh my God. Yeah, it was, yeah. And then you learn, you figure it out. And actually,
I never really learned.
Stop it! You stop. Well, on that same
you
note,
look at my old animations at the joint movement. You can tell there's a bunch of like I didn't care about.
Even the difference of like, well, because you did like a remake version, because of course one of your really big first hits was One Ring to Rule Them All, and you did like a redone version of it, which I don't often say is like, oh man, that's not necessary, but like I think that was actually good because it was a cool, like, there was a consistency to the look of the trilogy that you did. But you could see like that, because that wasn't that much longer later. Like you could see the improvement already in like the style and the models and the way that you were like kind of rigging the characters. It was
about 2 years. 2 years later.
Yeah.
Looking at my timeline.
I guess going into that, so obviously, you guys had many consistent cartoons you were doing and everything, and you did generally use not traditional frame-by-frame animation, but like tweened kind of, I guess, what would be considered puppeted animation, where you would have like interchangeable models of characters and build the pieces from there. So for building, like, say, like the characters in Perfect Kirby and One Ring and all that stuff, like when you were like designing the characters and kind of building that stuff, do you have any kind of memories of like, okay, how do we get this to work and make it look decent in this?
I just remember a lot of it was repetitive, and I was like, started getting tired of doing all of the. Every character has to have 2 arms, 2 legs, sitting right here. Yeah.
Well, I remember Perfect Kirby had a lot of like shape tweened like effects.
Oh yeah, I figured out how to do shape tweets well, so that it looked more I don't know, dynamic or whatever. Like the objects that move aren't all flat. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Well, now I realize, was your computer powerful enough to not have the world break in half when you would do a shape tween?
I think like the earlier versions of Flash were way more stable. So like
Okay.
when you went to MX or CS or whatever, those things were very unstable.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the way I draw characters really hasn't changed much since I started. Like I just think of each character as a puppet, and one thing I learned is make sure you have room for the shoulders. So when you move the shoulders, it actually has like a place to connect to. And like for elbows, make sure you draw like the whole part of the arm and leg, so that when you move the arms and leg, you can rotate them around the elbow and knee.
that was far more elaborate than I just like no shoulders, no elbows, just like two like cylinder things with like just the color cut off. It was so gross. Like some of the TTA episodes I did with like these fully motion like more detailed fight scenes I did, they just they look like crap. I think what lent itself well to you, Joey, is because your style has always been this very minimalistic, like cute kind of chibi-esque kind of thing with the cute eyes and stuff. Like it's very recognizable, and I think that it lent itself really well to good puppeted animation in my opinion.
Yeah, sure. That's probably true. Well, I just remember too, like when I did the Final Fantasy video, that was a lot of practice because I drew like 40 characters or like 35 characters for that thing, and it was all in Flash. It wasn't traced on paper or anything. So at least then I got some practice like drawing in Flash, which I improved on.
Sure.
Actually,
that reminds me, a little side note question. Did you guys have tablets pretty early on, or were you doing stuff via mouse like for a lot of the beginning?
I was using mouse up until the last thing I did, the Tankman.
Oh,
or
wow.
No, wait. No, I didn't even have it for that, right? Because I got the tablet. My first tablet I got was spent with money I won making the Tankman thing. So everything I did was.
Wow. Okay.
I've never used.
So the style his style kind of changed a bit more naturally how he draws.
Yeah, John, I was reminded of something too. So I remember when you did the Banjo 3 cartoon, like way back. I remember that, like, was that like your first time? Like, I'm gonna completely try making my own cartoon entirely on my own. I vaguely remember that was like the big thing for you at the time, because of course you guys did Perfect Kirby together. But like, were you? Because I guess I never really thought to ask you guys, like, how was the process of doing Perfect Kirby kind of split up between the two of you? Like, I'm assuming it was pretty half and half, but I don't know how it was all went.
It was probably 95% Richie.
Oh.
We would. I mean, the first episode, like, it was there was no structure at all. But like, I think we had some general idea for like PK2 or 3. And so we'd write it down, some general ideas, and then John would go write the script and fill it out more.
Sure.
And then we would do the voices. We'd wait till the parents leave so we could do our yelling.
Yeah.
And then, and then I would do a lot of animating. Yeah.
So then, John, if 3 was your first, like, I'm gonna animate something myself, like, did you basically just kind of learn on the fly, or like had you taken some stuff you had just seen from Richie on Perfect Kirby? Like, how did you kind of like get into that?
Well, I did learn a lot from Richie at the time too. I think my first one I made was like this montage thing. That was actually something in college I was doing too. Because I guess one of the classes was like animation, and we actually used Flash, and since I was basically ahead of the curve because I had already had a lot of experience with Flash, I did like the montage one. Yeah, from Team America, the montage song.
Is that submitted on Newgrounds?
I don't think it is on Newgrounds, actually.
Okay.
No.
But that sounds familiar. I think I've seen that.
I didn't think at the time. I didn't think it was worthy of putting it there.
Oh.
But I just kept it on our website. Yeah, it was just, and then
Oh,
Then I
that's
made
where it was.
the Banjo 3 is like I got to make a nice animation if I
Yeah.
can, and it took a long time to do.
Yeah.
And
No,
I
it was
know
good.
I had a few crashes.
No, but
I
I really liked that cartoon. I haven't watched it in a long time, but I remember like that was one that I would go back and like rewatch like a lot because I felt like I could tell like this was made with love. This was made like somebody that really like knows and appreciates these games and these characters and stuff. So I was a big fan of that.
So it's fun too because we played around with what we called dot technology at the time, which is a way of using closed captionings or select the scene. You kind of like how DVD interface would have.
Yeah.
And then I was alluding to a point here, but with Banjo 3, we did a commentary track. I remember had Joey.
That's
record
right.
some stuff.
That's
and
right.
then
Yeah.
I kind of stitched it all together like it was live or something.
Wow. Yeah.
The audio.
Yeah.
And it was. I really enjoyed that. It was kind of like behind the scenes sort of thing. Like,
I just remembered, dude, you just dislodged a huge memory. There's some gag towards the end of that cartoon where like Gruntilda comes out in like the mech suit. And I think it was Joey who was like, that robot was like half the budget of this movie. And then like one of you guys was like dying laughing in the background. I'm like,
Richie was laughing so hard.
It's the best.
Basically just like one frame later.
Commentary.
So funny.
I don't remember any of this.
Yeah. No, I guys, I might remember more about your own cartoons than you do. For Christ's sake, it's sad, really. It's sad for me, not for you. You reminded me also.
Voice in that?
Yeah, you were in that.
Yeah, was I Bottles? I think.
Yeah, you did a couple things.
Yeah, you did
That's
Bottles.
Okay.
I had Gherkin Man play
A Jinjo.
the Red Jinjo.
That's right.
Yeah.
Most important character in the movie.
I played Splungo, Klungo's brother. It's just he stitched the story together. I was going to play Banjo, but Richie did a far better job, so he played Banjo and Kazooie.
Kelly Riley.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh,
yeah.
Riley. Yeah, and she was your Joanna in Perfect Kirby, right?
Yeah, she was.
We went through several. Whoever like getting voice actors really early on was hard, and then getting a female voice actor was super hard.
Oh
so
yeah. Well, it's funny
three
because
different
like
Joannas?
Kira Buckland, who's like still one of my best friends to this day. I mean, you know, she was one of the first like people on Newgrounds that like I actually like want to do this professionally and I care about this, and even to know that like back then that was before she was prominent on Newgrounds. So yeah, finding like any girl consistently to do voices in a cartoon was like a task in and of itself. I think actually it's funny because I'm reminded too, Richie, I think that in the Nintendo collab I believe I had you do Kirby and Banjo because I was having you reprise from your stuff, like I kind of in tribute to that. I think.
Sounds possible.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember was Banjo in there. Was Banjo in there?
Yeah, because there was actually it was one of the one Joey. I think. Did you animate the one where it's like Banjo, Conker, and Diddy were like doing Diddy Kong Racing and Conker like crashes into like the poo? That was one of the ones you did, right?
Yeah, I did that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because I think it was. Yeah, you were Diddy. That's right. You were Diddy Kong, and Richie was Banjo, and Josh Tomomoto was Conker, and then Happy Harry was the Great Mighty Pooh. So that whole segment was all Newgrounds people. Good Lord. By the way, also little side note too. I think I've told this story a few times, but I was reminded because you guys were talking about learning stuff in like classes and things. After that initial class I took, the Computer Learning Center thing. In my last year of high school, I also had an animation class, like a computer animation class, and same thing. By that point, I had already been doing stuff for a while. I think I'd already started to do Parody Rangers by that time, but I needed to do a school project for that. So in a week, I animated this music video, which later turned out to be the Mario RPG Rawest Forest music video that ended up being, to my surprise later, was like my biggest viral hit around the world because it got like copy pasted to like all these different sites and it was big in Japan and stuff. And I was like, I just made this and it was right before. It was one of the last things I did with a mouse. Because I look back on it now, I'm like, oh god, the drawings are so gross. But like that was one of the last things I did with a mouse. Everything I did up until then, and then eventually I got my first tablet laptop as like my graduation present for high school a little bit later. But same thing, that was something I just did in as like a class project, and it turned out to be a big thing that means a lot to me still to this day. I was and John, you reminded me too. in regards to how you set up the DVD commentary stuff. I guess in some minimal way, all of us did I mean, I said before, like, oh God, I hate programming. That's why I switched to doing animation instead. But I realized that all of us, in some sense, we all kind of had to learn a little teeny bit of programming to make certain things just work at all, to get these movies out. At the very bare minimum, before you could just download an easy, click and play loading screen that Newgrounds would have as just like a resource you could download, like scene controls and syncing the audio properly and all, this kind of stuff, and buttons at the end. Any, I guess, particular memories about like just kind of, we're more artists than programmers, but although Richie, some of the stuff you did was like incredibly impressive. Like any particular kind of stories or memories about navigating around ActionScript?
Yeah, I'm a professional programmer now. That's what I started, and then Flash was sort of a side thing that I did. Mm-hmm. So like learning programming was something that I did. So I didn't see a big problem in it. So that was pretty easy for me.
And so that was the case like back then when you were doing all that stuff.
Yeah, I had to learn ActionScript when Flash 5 came out, but
wow, okay.
I had already done like simple JavaScript and
sure
HTML before that, so
yeah,
I was probably ahead of the Flash.
So was ActionScript like child's play for you then?
No, I mean it was all new to me back then.
Sure,
but, I understood the loading screen code.
Yeah.
Easily. And after you do it a dozen times.
What are you working now?
I actually was able to intern at Newgrounds for 2 summers.
Wow.
And I made a lot of friends there. So I still talk to my Philly friends there.
Cool.
But then I worked for Disney for like 6 years.
Damn.
And then I just moved to a place called Magnopus in downtown LA, and they do VR stuff.
Oh my God!
So I do programming stuff all day.
That's awesome. I've there's a place in Culver City, Servios. They do a lot of VR stuff, and I've done some work with them as well. Actually, that's awesome. Wow, holy crap. Well, we pale in comparison, I guess, for for you guys. I guess like just trying to figure it out. You got any funny stories?
Like I said, I was learning how to program in Flash, really basic stuff at my job. But I always like to put little clickable things and little Easter eggs in my cartoons that are interactable,
Mm-hmm. Kaboom!
And even it's this little thing like clicking on people in the credits to get like a bonus scene.
Yeah.
Or
a lot of that stuff's getting lost now.
Oh yeah, you can't do that.
That's the funny thing is no, it's not even funny. It's sad. As I realize, like a lot of the Homestar Runner cartoons, they're all on DVD, but I think that some of those Easter eggs that were only if you like clicked certain stuff at the end of Strong Bad emails or whatever, I don't think those are on the DVD. So some of those might be like
some of that's lost media at this point.
Yeah. I remember while I'm remembering this too, the 100th and 200th emails that Strong Bad did, they had an Easter egg where it was like the guys from Limousine with them all dressed up and everything. I remembered those, and I still quote those to this day. Well, I didn't know that. Well, and I was like, I'm gonna go and film these, like screen capture these before they're lost forever because they might be. And I did, so I have recordings of those.
Also, like, I think the most elaborate thing I did in one of my tunes is in one of the Resident Evil ones, if you click on secret notes, like in the movie, you get like a journal entries you can read. But each time you click one, it unlocks a secret costume for Claire.
Yeah.
So you can actually watch the movie with the main character in like different outfits, because like unlocking outfits is always a thing you did in Resident Evil.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Wow.
Oh.
Yeah, and you just can't do that in YouTube, obviously.
Even things like zooming in, like you won't see.
Zooming in. You had to look at all the stuff we put on the bookshelf. I mean,
it's been a lot of time making stupid book tiles.
Oh man.
Me and Luke Diora did a commentary for Zelda. We did the voice of Link.
Yeah, that's right.
And we talked a lot about this. It's like even like just zooming in, because I always put like book titles, like books on the bookshelf or things on a computer screen that you have to like zoom in on Flash, and unless you have an 8K monitor, you can't do that anymore.
Yes.
Jesus,
big programming thing I remember was the big. This is like the simplest thing. At some point, Flash would get out of sync with some of the audio, and I remember Richie and I, he figured out something. We'd do a stop and a play button or action on the same frame. That way it would stay in sync.
Yes. I was just about to go there.
I remember something like that. Yeah. That's like the biggest cheat I remember having to do.
Because it's still a problem. Even I have like, I'm using like CS6, I think, right now. It still happens. It's still, after like a certain number of frames, even
after it's dead, it's still happening. I mean,
I know, yeah. Well, I was going to mention also my big story. This was later on. This was probably like 2007 or 8 or whatever, and this will segue into the next kind of part I wanted to talk about. Huge shout out to Alvin Earthworm, Mark Haynes, creator of Super Mario Bros. Z, which was another big Newgrounds series. He taught me a trick where, and I used this for I think everything from like Parody Rangers 3 forward, like every Flash thing that I ever submitted to Newgrounds after that point. There was a thing where I would put all of a scene, and I would have a scene last for probably about like anywhere from 4 to 5 minutes at most before the desync would be like really noticeable. I would put it all in a single movie clip, and then and that would just be in and of itself. That's it. Like I wouldn't have individual scenes. I would have one scene in the Flash timeline where the first frame would be the loading bar, and then the like 6 or 7, however many scenes there were in total for the first cartoon, would be one frame each, and we'd have a piece of action script on that frame of that 4-minute scene, and say, okay, hold on this frame for the number of frames that this scene is, and then play. And then it would go to the next one and hold on that, and then I could keep doing that for as long as I needed to. And what was nice is that allowed me finally, I was catching up with you guys because you guys had scene select forever. Then, I can have scene select in my cartoons. Oh my God. So that was the big groundbreaking, like, I've cracked the case on being able to submit things that are longer than, like, what's the limit? Like, it's like 10,000 frames in a single scene, I think was the limit for that. Yeah. And a lot of things would break on me. So that was a big breakthrough for me. Leading into the next bit, I'm reminded too, and funnily enough, it's the thing that, as far as I understand, it's how we all met each other, was the advent of doing Flash collabs. And that's something that kind of seeps into the Newgrounds specific stuff in and of itself, because that was a big thing, and still is a big thing for Newgrounds, even now. Animation collabs between a lot of different, just countless animators, far more than any of the ones that any of us ever did. But Joey, remind me, did you run some of them, or was it usually somebody else and you were one of them, one of the animators?
I organized Matrix Has You 1, 2.
Right. Okay, that's right. That's right.
I was a part of a Halo one.
Okay.
I think that's kind of the two, like, the major ones I was in.
So that was because I do remember Matrix Has You was one of the, maybe, if not maybe the first major collab between a lot of different animators. Like
it was definitely one of the first.
Yeah. So like, I mean, I know now. Well, I mean, you and I particularly really know, because we've worked with a lot of different people before. You talked about Toonworks earlier. Like, especially when you're young and this isn't your job, it's a hobby, and we're all kids that don't know what the hell we're doing. Tell me about organizing that. And of course, because Richie and John, you guys, I think, did some segments on that too, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, he was in the first one.
Yeah. So like, tell me about that whole process, because especially I want to know what that was like compared to what I ended up having to do later with Nintendo and all that.
Ooh, think back.
Remember the evolution of Newgrounds doing that.
What's that?
I remember the time when collabs really started, and then as they became more of a staple on Newgrounds. Because at the time, you could only have one author. Then you could start having multiple authors for a collab. Like you had to pick which author was going to upload this whole Flash movie.
That's right. That might have been before they allowed you to credit multiple people.
I don't
on
think
the
that happened
page.
until after these collabs with like
which
Matrix.
is still such an elaborate system that like I kind of wish that YouTube would have something like that too, and it still doesn't. Because you could like
I was able to credit up to 5 people.
Oh, okay.
That was like limited too. It's like
yeah.
It's funny how think of it was a limit then.
Yeah, but like I'm sure there was collabs like that on Newgrounds before this, but after I saw Animatrix?
Yeah. That's right.
This is a bunch of different directors creating Matrix material, and they're all wildly different styles and tone and all that stuff. What if I did something with that, like that with Flash, because I like doing parodies. Looking back, admittedly, there was just a way sometimes for me to write a cartoon and then not be responsible for making it, which I kind of regret. I wish I would have let each cartoon like be the animator's own thing, which a few were, but a few weren't. But yeah, like I just I was friends with you guys. With you, Richie. I was friends with Chris Bow and Luke Diaora, and who else was on the first one? Metal Maverick.
Was I mean, you want to talk about lost media? Joe Anime, who was one of the only girl animators on Newgrounds at the time. I think she was part of one of those. I think, right?
Yeah, she was in part 2.
That's right. Okay, that's right. So I mean, so okay, so then a lot of you guys already knew each other before you did it. So was it, but like to get together and be like, okay, like you got to send me this giant FLA, which not easy to do that back then, and hosting all these files and connecting, make sure it's got to be the same frame rate and the same, like size of the thing and all that,
That's right. We still had to deal with dial-up then.
Yeah.
And put it in the same file. I had Richie's Flash Brothers and my cartoon, which are I think kind of the most complicated in that one.
Oh, were the Flash Brothers part of that one too?
Yep. Yeah, the first one.
Wow.
And I had to get them in the same FLA file back in 2004.
Oh my god.
Which sometimes required me like just uploading, like copying and pasting part of the movie.
Yeah.
And then like hoping Flash doesn't crash, and then save it, and then do it again.
And hope it doesn't corrupt the file, which that would happen sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
We keep all the sounds organized.
Yeah.
Make sure movie clips. I was like, okay, when you make a movie clip, put your name in front of it.
Yep.
I guarantee someone else is going to have a movie clip called Neo's Pants.
Yeah, Neo's Pants.
Yeah,
part 1.
We're all just a key smash because I got tired of. I had so many graphics and movie clips. I just key smash.
Yeah.
Like to make them unique IDs.
And this was kind of before voice chat, so me and everyone was just doing it over like a missing messenger.
Yeah. I mean, like, good lord. Because I mean, I'm gonna date ourselves all so hard now. But AOL Instant Messenger, that was the way to go. That was the communication.
You remember 20 years ago? Yeah.
God Almighty. Well, and then Skype was what, like 2005, I think, maybe around there.
Yeah,
gosh, I remember TeamSpeak being a thing that.
Oh God, don't even say that word. I don't.
Oh, sorry. I never used it. But yes.
I only heard the tales of it.
Yeah, I remember using voice chat for the first time, not for really Flash related stuff, but it was around 2005 or 6 when I started to make friends, not only in Flash but who also played World of Warcraft together.
Yeah.
They were like, "Oh, you come on this Discord chat, not Discord, TeamSpeak or whatever, Ventrilo, and we can do quests together and talk." And I was like. I was so nervous when that first happened because, I just never talked to strangers on the internet before. And, I had this, like,
you're not gonna invite me into your unmarked white van, are you?
Rather than commonplace.
I know. Yeah. Now it's just like, oh, whatever. Who gives a shit?
And I have this speech impediment that I was afraid, like, people speech impediment, even though I have all these. Okay, do all these cartoons, but it was fine and everything.
Well, also, because you mentioned a lot of you guys already knew each other just through before that, but like, did you meet anybody for the first time when like you approached them about, hey, do you want to be part of my project or anything?
Oh, like, did I recruit people?
Yeah.
That weren't my immediate friends.
Yeah.
They were mostly people I knew.
Okay. Because
I maybe wasn't.
Yeah.
Like I maybe wasn't the best of friends with like Psychon and Gherkin Man.
Right.
But I knew them.
Oh God, I thought about Psychon in forever. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Because for me, this is the funny thing. So like, I kind of made my mark with Parody Rangers in 2006, and it was, I will attest, it is 100% because Aaron was in it and did a bunch of the voices. It was based on a sound clip that he did of Zordon and Alpha like fucking around or whatever that he put on Cheesy Arts, where that whole kind of thing evolved from. And but I was a huge fan of you guys for many years, and I remember, I think when it was doing this, because the first one was mostly people. The first Nintendo collab originally was just going to be me doing everything, and then I also, Joey, it's funny you mentioned same thing. I was like, I don't want to do all this on my own. Let me get some friends together. And I had just started college, and I was going to an animation school, so some of my classmates did some stuff as well. One of my friends, Mike Uraka, who's now like he directs like Looney Tunes at Warner Brothers, which is incredible.
Oh, gosh.
But yeah, I remember for this. I think it was no. I'm remembering wrong. The first one, I think Richie and John. I think I went to you guys. First and foremost, I think I wanted you guys to do voices because I wanted Perfect Kirby to be my Kirby in the thing. And then I think maybe you might have offered like, hey, we'll do animation. I was like, oh, really? Oh, okay. And which then led into the long string of not safe for work Pokemon girls. Thanks for that. You I don't, Richie.
Is
I don't.
That too?
That was all three of them. Yeah, because
the Nintendo girls.
Each one more dodgy than the last.
Well, no, the third one was me kind of taking the piss out of it because it was the fake out with the Star Fox thing. But yeah, Richie, I don't know if I've ever told you, by the way, I don't think you realize that you created several people's like furry awakening with some of those cartoons.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. But no, and then I think also I can't remember if you offered or if I asked, like, hey, can you help with this? But you made this incredibly elaborate menu system for all three of the Nintendo collabs with, not just with the girl characters and everything, but just like the navigation and the scene transitions and like the cool sort of like Wii theme and everything. Like that was awesome. And
I remember that. I had fun.
Yeah. And like, it was just, and then the second one, Joey, I just hit you up. I was just some dude and I was like, hi, do you want to work together? And you were like, sure. And I was like, wow, it's this simple? Like, I can just do this? Oh my God. Yeah. Like, and it was, yeah.
I probably started the first one. And I probably started because looking at the timeline here, like I probably started the Mario RPG thing.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
And like, it was kind of when I was kind of winding down on, like making these big, huge movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, like making a short 30-second clip sounds right up my alley.
Oh yeah, well, I'm remembering now. I think around that time, yeah, you were taking a little bit of a break, not like gone, but you were taking a little bit of a break and like not doing these big sprawling 20-minute things or whatever. But I was really taken aback, and I was like, and you did like 4 different things for each of them. Like you did all these little short ones, and they were all really good. I mean, the Tetris one in particular, like. That's
one I'm most favorite. Like,
it's so good.
Beyond like the thing it's in. It's kind of one of the things I'm most proud of.
Oh wow!
In some weird way, because like everyone who watched it says like the last 5 frames of that movie just kills themselves laughing.
It's so fun. Yeah, and actually, I got to give you some major credit because most of the segments were written by me and my buddy Chris Zito, who is people know him now for a lot of D&D stuff he does with the Team 4-Star guys and elsewhere. But and he did a ton of voices in like all those. But he and I wrote a lot of those jokes. I think a couple other people helped here and there. Which that was something I was always like, oh crap, I forgot to credit this one person for coming up with this joke or whatever. But the Tetris one, that was one that I didn't write. I think you just like pitched that and said, can I do this? And I was like, I love it. And I think you also, I remember you added to, because I had you as Diddy, and I had that one about Diddy and Dixie, like, so Dix, you want to get it on? I Diddy Kong. And she's like, you do know we're related, right? And then you added in that's even better. And I'm like, that's awful and hilarious, and I love it. Thank you. And
well, and that makes like a much better stinger. I think
it's awful, though not as awful as the second one, Richie, when I gave you a bunch of. Okay, so here's everybody. Those of you who haven't seen the second or any of the Nintendo collabs, the second one, there's a thing I came up with like, what if the guy from Pokemon Snap was like a dirty like lingerie photographer or something, right? And so, and I think you did you voice him too, right?
Yeah, I did. I do not remember anything, but I did play those.
Yes, yeah.
It's
the
thumbnail on Newgrounds.
Oh, of course. And I gave him like, little short clips of several of my actress friends at the time, like giggling, and it was all just supposed to be like, oh, it's like models.
Oh, did I take it too far?
Oh, no, not at all. No, too far. I mean. I will never forget showing that to like a bunch of my college friends. Like just like you send me back this. No. I remember you sent me back the clip of the Scyther and the Scissor girl talking to each other, and I think that was your friend who voiced Joanna. I think.
Kelly Riley.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's funny. Yeah, cool. Yeah, keep going. Totally. Keep going. And then a month later, you send me back this like 5-minute thing of all, and I'm like, oh no. And I'm like, I don't know if I can use this. And all of the other team members were like, you better use every second of that footage. And I'm like, well, I guess that's what I'm going to do now. And
so that's how it was pitched.
Yeah. So, and I'll never forget one. I will not name who they are, but one of my friends who may or may not have been a voice in that cartoon was like, dude, the Mill Tank girl is doing things to me that I can't explain. And I'm like, I really liked also just for me personally having Perfect Kirby versus my friend Mark, who's now gone on to do the guy who voiced Meta Knight in that really beautifully animated segment by Gil Panda. My God, like he's gone on to voice in like Street Fighter and Pokemon and a bunch of stuff. But having Perfect Kirby fighting this like weird goofy version of Meta Knight, like that was like a personal accomplishment for me, because I felt like, well, Perfect Kirby's over now. I'll carry on the legacy with him in this cartoon. Why not? So, which brings me, as we're about to hit the hour mark, that brings me to one last thing I feel would be remiss to not mention. Gentlemen, there is one particular thing that I've realized all of us share in common. Something that perhaps many of our hardest of hardcore fans that have followed all of our work and grew up with our stuff probably curse us to this day. We never finished our volume 4s of any of our respective major Newgrounds things.
Well, worse than that, I never finished part 2s of at least 2 different things.
So, who wants to start explaining themselves?
I probably have the most.
Well, let's focus on One Ring, because actually One Ring for you is more recent. One Ring 4.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, that was good intentions that just got bogged down with. And I'm not going to go into detail in it, but a lot of personal stuff going on with the people who were involved.
Sure.
And some people didn't have times. Like Mark, the person that who I do animations with when I have the time, just was too busy with work, and he said like I can't commit to helping you with this right now. He's a way better animator than me, So I was like, well, I don't want to do this myself and not have it be good. But yeah, I just pitched one day on Twitter, and I have this idea for One Ring 4. Should I explore it? And of course, people were like, yeah, of course. So I said, okay, I guess I'll, and I'll just tell you what it's about.
Well, no, don't. Hold on. Let's hold off on that for a second. I might want to come back to that, or maybe I might not. John and Richie, I'll never forget checking at least once a year on that progress bar you had.
It was real though.
I know. I'm sure it was. But and was it even like it was like interactive? I think at some point too, like to have like sort of like a game element, or is that I might be confusing that with something else.
I know you could click on it. I took some screenshots of stuff I was working on.
Yeah. So what happened?
And I think the summary is we all got busy. But
Sure.
I think the last time I talked to Legendary Frog before today was he was doing another RE project.
Uh-huh.
And I think he assigned something out to me. I was going to do Big Tits Ashley or something. Because that was my job back then, was to do the female stuff. But I was in college or whatever, and I was busy with something. And he was like, hey, so how are you on that project? I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh, I'm not doing that. Anyway, stuff started falling apart a lot. But I was working with the Flash brothers to try to do a game for a long time.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking of. That's right.
So there's the PK game, and then there was PK4, which were separate things.
Mm-hmm.
We had a computer crash that took away all of, I forget if it was the game or if it was PK4, but we lost a whole lot of stuff.
I think most of the game got lost, which was...
yeah. So that was like, okay, I don't want to go back to.
Yeah,
you know,
that is sounding vaguely familiar. Okay, yeah.
Very disheartening.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that, and then getting busy.
Sure. Well, I mean, for me, I remember it was a matter of I'm not proud of this, and I've talked about this a lot, so I'll surmise. But I was planning, and I began writing TTA Season 4. I got kind of intoxicated by the popularity of doing parodies, and like, oh, you get attention and views and money. And then, because TTA was, not that it was great, but it was an original. Well, and not that it was original. It was my own characters. It was not a parody, and that was the type of stuff that I was really passionate about, that I really wanted to do in animation. But I kind of put it aside in favor of all this other stuff that at the time I was more, like taken to, but it wasn't really passionate. It was what I was just, getting attention and accolades and popularity and you win prize money for if you get on the front page or whatever. Like, that was what I started putting my value in. And it wasn't until I had kind of a wake up call in college that I shifted my focus. And then eventually I brought back the ironic thing was I never finished the original version of Tome. And then in 2011, I decided, well, I'll start over and I'll do a new version of it that will be better animated and have full voiceover with professionals and, go that way. And now I'm making a video game version of it because I guess I just can't let go of the same concept for 15 years. So, so I'm sure there's probably still people out there that curse me for never finishing it, and especially because I did I think last year I did an April Fool's joke where I did like the quote unquote first episode of season 4, and then it never happened. But I think the real solution is, gentlemen, that we need to do a Cartoon All-Stars crossover sequel finale. Newgrounds Your Childhood Cartoon 4, featuring Perfect Kirby and Kirby for 15 and Kerrigan and what's his name?
Banjo.
Yeah, Banjo. And what's his name from Lord of the Rings? Sauron. Like, we should do that. We should. I'm saying this half in jest, but saying this publicly because this is going to go up tomorrow, so that I hold myself to it. Oh man, but I guess we're past an hour. I don't want to keep you for too much longer, guys. But I guess I don't know. closing thoughts, Flash, I should mention also, the program isn't gone, and it still has a place in, the creation of media and things. Even what I mentioned about the tone game, like, we're using ActionScript as part of getting some of the programming to work for some of the animation stuff, and I'm animating all the characters in Flash still. I should give a huge shout out to Mike Welsh of the Newgrounds staff for creating the godsend program that is Swivel, the Swift video converter program Swivel. That is just the best thing ever made. But I guess just in general, in terms of looking back, I mean, these past almost 20 years, we're old, with using this program and doing all this stuff. I don't know, just any kind of closing thoughts, any kind of stuff you want to share about our history of using this program for making cool stuff?
It was a nice outlet for people to play around with as we did and just kind of figure out how to entertain. And it was something, it was very unique, I think, and honestly probably can't be replicated even now.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of fun talent come out of that, a lot of great things come out of it. Now it's just another footnote in history.
Yeah. Richie,
I still use Flash 5 to make art stuff sometimes.
Really?
So I have a Linux box and I have a Mac computer, and I just run VirtualBox, and I have an XP running on a VirtualBox, and I install Flash 5 on there, and I can use my tablet.
Wow.
To interact with it, so I can keep it alive. But at my work, we release some projects and stuff, and I would make every couple of months some sort of like congratulations like card. I did a lot of cards, and I use Flash 5, and I still use Flash 5 to make
oh my
art.
God.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah.
It's not dead.
You remind me, Frederick Fox, Matt Gafford, the guy who created A Fox in Space. I think for a time he was still using like Flash like 3 or 4 or something to do his cartoon, and I'm like, how are you still able to run that shit and like utilize that? That's a feat to me. Yeah, I'm on CS6, which is I'm happy to say is the least crashy version I've ever used, and it served me well. Although I am tremendously thinking of finally making the switch to Toon Boom this year. I might hit up a few of my younger artist friends that are more that are better at that stuff. We'll see. Joey, how about you?
Well, I definitely still use Flash. I do my artwork on there, and even though I haven't released like the Legendary Frog, moniker, I haven't used in years and years. But,
sure.
Whenever me and my friends like have an idea and we have time to do a movie, I still do cartoons, which is real nice.
Yeah.
This day and age is a lot harder to do that sometimes. So like I kind of never stopped being the animator guy, but I only do it when it feels right nowadays, obviously.
Sure.
Or like when I'm just doing art for a project, I can do art all day. When I worked with, Brad Jones, the a cinema snob, on a cartoon he did called Lloyd. Toonworks animated that, and I was in charge of the art, so I just did a bunch of art, and Mark animated it, and it looked really good. So I have art I'm pretty proud of, synced with animation that's better than I could ever do, and that makes me proud. Even though I didn't like write it and stuff, I can still say I had a hand in making that stuff.
Did you ever figure out what's an Xbox?
What's an Xbox? It's a. I was trying to make a Series X joke, but
it's a I think it's a heater. I think it's a really elaborate room heater.
Space heater.
It's just a bunch of boxes.
Yeah, of course. I miss Ark and Kerrigan. I really like those characters a lot. I would love to see them again.
Just like One Ring, I've tried to bring them back.
Yeah.
A couple times.
Yeah.
But it just comes down to the fact that I don't have the drive necessarily to animate a big cartoon anymore.
Sure.
But I still have the creative drive to like write stuff sometimes, and it's just finding the right people to work with sometimes.
What would Ark think of 2020?
Like, whoa, cell phones, man. Whoa.
It's beautiful. Well, guys, this was a pleasure. Thank you so much for giving me a little over an hour of your time. It was, I really do owe a lot of you, a lot of my inspiration to do what I do now to you guys, and it was a really great privilege getting to work with y'all on a lot of those early projects and stuff, and I'm glad you guys are all still safe and alive and doing stuff. And where can everybody find you? Go ahead and plug your Twitters and YouTubes, whatever you use. If you got anything like that, please go ahead.
Pecan Joe is my Twitter and my YouTube.
Pecan Joe.
Pecan. You can say however you like.
Pecan pie.
Yeah, my Twitter is Joseph_Lfrog. And I have a Patreon at patreon.com/legendaryfrog, which is mostly for podcasts these days, but whenever I do art or things like that, I put it on there.
Mm-hmm. And Richie, do you use social media, or are you smarter than any of us and don't touch that shit?
I don't really use.
He's the smartest one here.
Anything anymore. I'll post this up on Pecan Joe on Newgrounds, but
sure.
I don't do anything. The only place you could find me is Newgrounds Pecan Joe.
Wow. All right. Well, you heard it first, guys. Newgrounds is still a place to go. Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks guys again. Thanks so much for doing this. This was great. And everybody in the comments below, it's been a long time since I've said that. Tell us any fun stories that you have. Doesn't have to be exclusively in Newgrounds, can be other sites and other places and things. Any stories that you have about particularly favorite Flash animations or games? We didn't really talk much about games, but any kind of that, that kind of stuff. Or if you were a website builder, did you ever make sites in Flash? Were you a Flash animator or game developer yourself? Do you have any stories about working with the program, anything like that, or were you just a fan and a viewer and a player that remembers that stuff from back in the day? And especially even for those of you who are younger that maybe didn't know what the hell we were talking about for 50% of this conversation. I don't know. I would still love to hear your thoughts about a lot of this stuff too. And from here on out, I'm going to try to get back to doing some Kirblogs on a fairly regular basis again. So thanks for tuning in. And go check out Joey, Richie, and John's stuff. If you haven't seen any of the cartoons we talked about, go look them up. I think that they've been converted to videos on Newgrounds, a lot of them, or have been taken and put up on YouTube without any of our permissions, because that was a thing that people did.
Maybe make one more pitch. If you go to youtube.com/Joseph Blanchett, I put all my old cartoons on there. They have a commentary too.
Nice. In beautiful HD.
Plus, in HD.
Yeah.
Sometimes in 1080.
Oh,
and
boy.
if you thought the last thing I did was Lord of the Rings cartoons on Newgrounds, some of you guys might not know that I was involved in writing and drawing a sci-fi series called Wonders of the Universe a few years back. Chris did a voice on it.
I did. Oh, Route 2, a wonderful character, yes.
Yeah, and we did that for a few years, and you find that on that page. And I was involved with Lloyd, I mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Some people contact me on Twitter, and it's like, I had no idea you kept doing stuff. And I go, yeah, I try to keep busy.
We're not dead. I promise. None of us are dead.
I exist.
All right. And on that note, let's hope we continue existing into the new year, no matter what awful crap continues to happen. Everybody, please stay safe, stay healthy, be careful, and be good to each other. Thanks so much, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.